Welcome to Cracked Open, a podcast about life, love, loss, and the truths we discover along the way. Together, we'll explore the struggles that shape us, the lessons we carry, and the hope that keeps us moving forward. This is more than stories. It's honesty. It's healing. It's real. Let's get started. And now your host, Glen Nunes.
Hi, this is Glen Nunes, and you're listening to Cracked Open. First, I'd like to thank you for being here, and thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing with someone who might need it. In today's episode, it's not an easy one for me. This one is raw, it's real, and it's one about something I don't think people talk about enough: humiliation. I've talked about humility on here. I've done a podcast on that before, but humiliation is a totally different thing, and I'd like to talk about this one today because there's a difference between heartbreak and humiliation. Heartbreak hurts, but humiliation, that changes you. It gets in your head. It makes you question yourself, your judgment, your worth. And when it comes from someone that you trusted, someone that you believed, someone who looked at you right in the eye and promised you that they would never do it again, and they did it anyway. So that's a different kind of pain. And before I get into this, I want to be clear about something, because humiliation, it isn't just embarrassment. It's not just being hurt. It's not about heartbreak. Humiliation is when someone makes you feel small, like you didn't matter. Everything you gave meant nothing. It's when someone looks you right in the eye and tells you what you want to hear, and then does the exact opposite like it's nothing. That's humiliation. And if you've ever felt that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm not coming on here today as someone who's got this all figured out. I'm coming here today as someone who's going through it. So if you've ever felt lied to, disrespected, made you feel like you didn't matter, this one's for you. Heartbreak just hurts, but humiliation, it really stays with you. It's not just what someone did to you. It's how casually they did it. It's when someone looks you right in the eye, makes promises, and says things like, I will never do that to you again. I'm home. I'm back home. And things like this. And then they turn around and do exactly that. And then you're just left sitting there thinking, did this just really happen to me? It's not just pain at that point. It's confusion. It's disbelief. It's starting to question your own reality, and that's where it gets dangerous, because when somebody repeatedly lies to you, when their words and their actions never line up, at some point it stops being a mistake and it becomes a pattern. And patterns don't lie. You don't believe what people say, you believe what they repeatedly do. And when you finally step back and add everything up, every lie, every broken promise, every moment that made you feel small, sticking up for them, especially when their own family, friends, mutual friends, their supposed best friends or friends, and just people in general have said all kind of things that, unfortunately, you can't defend. And you've defended them over and over and over again. And when it comes down to it, you're the only one that's never said anything bad about them. That's what really is sad about the whole thing, and that's when it hits you. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was humiliation. And here's where it starts to change, because the first time someone lies to you, it hurts. But the first time they break your trust, you try to understand it. You tell yourself, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they'll fix it. And a lot of times, you just forgive it. But when it keeps happening, when the same behavior shows up again and again and again, now you're not dealing with a mistake anymore. You're dealing with a pattern. And patterns tell you everything that you need to know about a person, because anybody can say the right thing in the moment. They can apologize. Anyone can promise you they'll never do it again. But what matters is what they do after that. And not what they say, but what they repeatedly do. And this is where a lot of people, including me, you get stuck, because you start holding on to the words instead of looking at the actions. You stop believing the version of them that they talk about instead of the version that they keep showing you. And over time, something starts happening to you. You start questioning yourself. You start thinking, am I overreacting? Am I being too sensitive? Maybe I'm the problem. And that right there, that's where the damage really starts, because now it's not just about what they're doing anymore. It's about what it's doing to you. And this is where it gets deeper than just lies, because after a while, it's not just about what they're doing. It's about how it makes you feel. And that feeling, it's humiliation. And humiliation is different. Humiliation isn't just pain. It's not just being hurt. It's being made to feel very small. It's being made to feel like you didn't matter. That like you were just disposable. Like everything you gave meant nothing. And the part that really gets you, it's how casually it happens. No hesitation, no remorse, no real accountability, just behavior. And you're sitting there thinking, how could someone do this to me and act like it's nothing? That's not just disrespect. That's dehumanization. Because when someone can lie to you, look you right in the eye, make promises to you, and then turn around and do the exact opposite without a second thought, that's not seeing you as a person anymore. That's seeing you as something that they can use, something they can keep around, something they don't have to fully respect. And that's the hard truth to face, because you don't want to believe that about someone that you love and care about. You want to believe that they're better than that, and you want to believe the words. But the actions, they just keep showing something else. And at some point, you have to stop asking, why would they do this to me? And you have to start asking, why am I still allowing it? Because humiliation, it doesn't come from what they do. It comes from staying in something that keeps breaking you down. And I want to say this for 1 second. This is the part that really messes with you, because you sit there and you replay everything, and you start thinking every conversation, every time they told you something, every time you defended them to other people, and every time your gut told you something wasn't right, you just ignored it because you loved them and you believed in them. And you probably still believe in them. That's the problem. This is where humiliation really hits. Not just what they did, but the fact that you were just standing there believing it, trusting it. And that's the part they don't want to admit. They knew you cared. They knew you were real. They knew you weren't playing games, and they still did it anyway. And that's what makes it different. And that's what makes it humiliation. That's not heartbreak. Because heartbreak is, it didn't work out. Humiliation is, you let them stand there and believe something that wasn't real. And you did it more than once. That's a different level. And people who haven't been through it, they don't understand that. They'll say, just move on, just let it go. You don't deserve that. You deserve better than that. But they don't understand what it does to your head, because you're not just questioning them. You're questioning yourself, your judgment, your instincts, your worth. And that's all dangerous, because if you stay in that too long, you start losing yourself. And that's what this is really about, not them. Losing yourself, trying to hold on to something that was never real. So then you got to ask yourself, how many times do I forgive the same thing? What point do you just stop calling it a mistake? So let that sit with you for a second if you've been through this. And this is what creates humiliation. Repeated lying in relationships. Because trust is the foundation of everything. Without it, nothing is solid. But when trust is betrayed, especially through repeated lying, the foundation begins to break. It may be forgiven at first, but it becomes a habit. And it's no longer a mistake. It's a pattern. It reveals character, cracks in trust, making it harder to discern what's true with each lie, no matter how small. Respect is also chipped away, as the person lying shows that they don't value the truth of your feelings. And this isn't just a mistake. It's betrayal. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you truly build a future with someone who shows such disregard for honesty? When somebody repeatedly shows their true colors through actions, can you just overlook that? Can love overcome that? I don't know. If we stay in relationships that harm us, we're allowing those relationships to control us. And do you deserve to be lied to and to be disrespected? Ask yourself that. Sit back and pause and ask yourself that if you're in a situation where you feel like you're being humiliated. Because humiliation is just devastating. And sometimes the wisest choice is just to walk away, to protect your peace and seek relationships grounded in respect and truth. But remember that you are responsible for your own happiness. And does someone who lies deserve a place in your life? And I'm talking either physical or emotional abuse in any relationship is not good. Love should be the one place where you find safety, trust, and mutual respect. It should be a sanctuary, your safe haven, where both individuals feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable, supported, and valued. Love is supposed to empower both partners, creating a space for growth and personal development. But when abuse in any form creeps into that relationship, sanctuary shattered. I'm sorry. The invisible walls that once held you safe, they start to collapse, and you're left with deep emotional and physical scars that linger long, long, long after the incident. And whether it's a slap or a cruel word or controlling behavior or lying right to your face, abuse is never a rough patch or something that can be worked through with time. It's a profound violation of your human dignity, something that should never be accepted or ignored. Physical abuse, it's the more obvious form because it leaves bruises, cuts, and broken bones and signs that can be hidden from the world. But emotional abuse, which can often be more difficult to identify, it's equally as destructive, if not more. Emotional abuse, it's the slow erosion of your spirit. It chips away at your self-worth. It distorts your sense of reality, and it diminishes your confidence. And over time, you may start questioning your value as a person, and you start to question, maybe I'm the problem. But walking away from an abusive relationship, it's not an act of weakness. It's a brave choice to preserve your dignity and self-respect. It takes strength. You have to reclaim the parts of yourself that were taken away. And you have to walk away from something that was so clearly harmful. Sometimes we stay in these abusive relationships because we believe love means sacrificing ourselves for the sake of someone else. But true love, it should not cost you a piece of your humanity. True love should be a force that enhances who you are, not the one that diminishes you. And public humiliation, I want to talk about that. I know people who allow this to happen to them. Public humiliation. They're dealing with narcissism and they just allow it. And then the whole concept here of relationships, love and respect, it should act as guiding stars. It should be uplifting both of the individuals in the journey together. But when public humiliation enters the picture, that delicate balance is shattered too. It's replaced by a form of emotional cruelty that cuts real deep. A partner who humiliates you in front of others is not merely making a mistake. They are choosing consciously or unconsciously to degrade your dignity. And these acts, they're not accidental. They're deliberate. They're designed to lower your value in the eyes of others and undermine your self-esteem. And this kind of betrayal, it doesn't just stay in the moment. It plants seeds of doubt in your mind, making you question your worth, and you're deserving of respect. If you find yourself constantly belittled or humiliated, it's important to recognize that this is not love, it's manipulation. Love elevates. It doesn't pull you down for amusement or power. And it's essential to understand that such behavior, it doesn't stem from affection, but from a desire to assert control, often at the expense of your self-worth. It's really sad. And repeated infidelity in relationships, people who cheat, they make this conscious decision to go and cheat and know they're doing it, and then they look people right in the eye. Trust is the foundation upon which everything is built. Everything. It's that invisible thread that ties two people together, allowing them to weather life's storms. But when that thread is cut by repeated acts of all these things we're talking about, the damage is just deep and it's way too difficult to repair. The first time someone betrays you, it might feel like a huge blow, one that shakes you right to the core. And sometimes it can be forgiven, depending on the circumstances. But however, when infidelity becomes a repeated pattern, it's no longer a mistake. It turns into a deliberate choice. It's a reflection of the other person's disregard for that relationship and the trust you have so carefully built. They don't love you. They never did. When someone cheats on somebody, there's no way you love them. I'm sorry. You're not. It's just a selfish act, and the masks will fall off, and the truth will come out, and in the end, the love will shatter. The phony love, the line that they use, I love you, all that stuff, going to shatter like dropping a vase on the ground. And each act of infidelity, it erodes the bond further. And all these things, they leave scars that become harder to heal over time. And think about it. When the one person you thought you could rely on for loyalty and commitment continually undermines that trust, it chips away at the very foundation of the love, or the phony love, I should say. So you deserve loyalty, you deserve honesty, and love in return for the commitment that you're giving. Some people don't know how to love, and they can never love. They thrive on that chaos, man. It's like honey in their lips. They know nothing about stability, and humiliating you really doesn't bother them. They tell you it does, and they don't mean to hurt you and all this. It doesn't bother them. They have a cold heart, and it's probably going to remain that way. No matter how much love you show them, it's not going to help as much as you wish and you hope it would. So I ask you, have you ever been in a relationship where someone repeatedly betrayed your trust? And what would it take for you to finally walk away? Do you think you're worthy of a relationship built on honesty, respect, and mutual loyalty, and real love? Repeated betrayal doesn't just hurt. It teaches us where to draw the line. And sometimes you have to walk away. It might be the most empowering decision that you can make. And then this gaslighting stuff, they do these rotten things to you, and then they gaslight you. One of the most destructive forms of betrayal is gaslighting. This is a manipulation tactic where someone deliberately tries to make you question your own reality, your memories, your perceptions, or even your feelings. It's a slow and insidious process that wears you down. It wears down your confidence and your self-belief. You begin doubting yourself, wondering what you remember or feel is even true. Have you ever had a moment when you felt sure about something, only for someone to make you feel like you were just losing your mind? That's the essence of gaslighting. It's not just another disagreement or misunderstandings. It's about a systematic attempt to destabilize your understanding of yourself and the world around you. And this controlling behavior and this complex landscape of relationships, freedom stands as a fundamental pillar of mutual respect and trust. It is critical that you, as an individual, are able to maintain your autonomy, ensuring that your relationship nurtures from both your personal growth and your well-being. Love at its core, it should empower you to become the best version of yourself, not make you feel as though that you're walking in someone else's shadow. However, when a relationship starts to feel more like a prison than a partnership, when your partner begins to dictate your every action, your thoughts, your choices, you're no longer in a balanced relationship. Instead, you have entered a dynamic of insecurity and possessiveness. I'm sorry. A controlling partner will often attempt to dominate every aspect of your life, from who you associate with to what you wear, even how you should think. And this type of behavior, it gradually chips away at your sense of self, restricting you from your freedom and undermining your individuality, man. And don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. Go watch my narcissist episode. That's a form of narcissism. Controlling behavior, it strips you of that freedom. It forces you to live according to someone else's narrow vision of what your life should actually look like. And this is not love. In fact, love is the total opposite of control. Love is the empowerment of each other, the encouragement to grow individually and together. A loving relationship, it thrives on mutual respect, where both partners are free to express themselves, pursue your passions together, knowing that they have each other's full support. If you find that your every action is monitored, if your choices are constantly questioned, and if your partner imposes their will on you in ways that diminish your own, it's time to take a step back, unless you're stupid or naive. And walk away from such controlling relationships. It's not a failure. It's a victory. It's a victory in reclaiming your personal sovereignty. It's an act of self-respect. It's a step toward finding the freedom that you need to thrive and to flourish. You have to have the courage to walk away from these people who humiliate you. They don't value who you are. They trash your heart. They are not worthy of your energy or your love. Learn and grow from it, and give your love to someone who deserves it and sees it. Because true love, a real connection, and meaningful partnerships, they're built on mutual respect, not control or subjugation. It's not built on that. In every relationship, you must protect your freedom above all else. Because when you lose it, when you lose that very essence of who you are, Your individuality and sense of self are the foundation of everything you are and will ever become. Never let anyone, no one, no matter how much you care for them, take that away. And it's probably just manipulation and you just don't see it. And if you're allowing it to happen, I'm sorry, but you're making this choice and you have to get out of it, or you should get out of it. And let's talk about lack of accountability. In any meaningful relationship, mutual respect, trust, and willingness to admit mistakes, they're all essential for growth and harmony. However, when one partner repeatedly refuses to take responsibility for their real actions, that's when it's toxic. And the lack of accountability, it leads to unresolved issues, eroded trust, and diminished personal growth. Because without accountability, a relationship, it turns into a battleground of blame, leaving no room for resolution or compassion. I'm sorry. Forgiving a partner who won't accept responsibility enables their refusal to grow. And we must ask ourselves, are we enabling behaviors that hinder growth and respect in our relationships? Are we forgiving those who avoid facing their own flaws? Are we choosing relationships that support mutual accountability? And while forgiveness is a core value in many philosophies, there are certain actions that once crossed can irreparably damage trust and self-respect, never to come back. A relationship built on these materials is one that may never be healed. You cannot heal from it. It's essential to preserving your peace and your sense of dignity. Never let someone treat you like an option. Never let someone disrespect you or humiliate you. It's one of the worst things you can do to yourself. You could be stuck in a rut for months, literally aging yourself, draining yourself over someone who's not even worth it. Let them humiliate themselves and let them humiliate someone else, because they deserve exactly what they're choosing and exactly who they're choosing to be with. They definitely do not deserve you. And there's something else I need to say, because this isn't just emotional. This is real life. I had a cousin, and he was one of the toughest men that I've ever met in my life. He had 5 kids, provider, a fighter. He went through a separation, and he ended up living in a hotel away from his wife and kids. Now, here's the thing. He used to drink. He was a big drinker, but he quit, and he was like totally clean. He stayed clean for many years. They ended up finding him dead in the hotel room. And when they found him, people assumed the worst. They thought that he went back to drinking or drugs or something like that, but the family really wanted to know what happened, so they did an autopsy. No alcohol, no drugs, nothing. You know, what they said that the cause of death was? Stress. That's what they put, stress. And I'll tell you right now, that kind of stress, because he was humiliated, that's what he was. He was totally humiliated. That kind of stress doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from being broken down, and it comes from being humiliated, the worst kind, and hurt, mentally drained over time. And I'm not saying that's going to be me or you. Hopefully it's not. But I'm saying this is real, and it does happen to some people. And this kind of pain, it's not small. It affects your mind, your body, your life. And people out here, they act like it's nothing. It's not nothing. It's something. And this is the moment everything starts to change. Not because they changed, but because you finally see it. You stop making excuses. You stop trying to explain it away. You stop telling yourself maybe it's just a phase. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe they're going to figure it out. Maybe in your situation they've told you, I have a plan. It's going to work out. They might be telling you things like this. They try to make an excuse for their actual so-called plan. And they start saying things like, oh, I can't do this because I'm not a mean person. I can't do that. Or I'm not going to do this. And so they're trying to justify what they knew right along, that they weren't going to do anything. And you start looking at it for what it actually is. Not what you hoped it was, and not what they said it was, but what it's been the entire time, a pattern. And at some point, you have to stop explaining it, and you just have to start accepting it. I did a podcast on acceptance, and I went back and watched it recently just to clear my head. I actually went back and listened to a few of my podcasts on acceptance, on forgiveness, and there was like 5 of them that all pertain to before I sat down and actually decided to do this just to clear my head and look at every angle I could so I could come here with an open mind. And I don't want to bash anybody. This isn't about anybody specific. This is about humiliation. And if you're involved and you've been humiliated and you're suffering from humiliation, this one's for you. But when you really sit with it, when you replay everything in your head, every lie, every broken promise, and every time things didn't feel right because you knew they were probably lying to you, you start to realize something uncomfortable. None of it was random. It was consistent. And this is the part that hits the hardest. You have to accept this and see it for what it is, because now you can't unsee it. And that's a weird place to be, because once you see it, you start looking at everything differently. You start going back, replaying moments in your head, things you brushed off, things that you made excuses for because you love them, things that you told yourself weren't a big deal. And now they all mean something. And it hits you like, wow, this was happening the whole entire time. And you almost feel stupid for a second. This is what humiliation is. You degrade yourself. You do. You sit there and you think, how did I not see this? How did I let this go on? How did I fall into this? Why did I keep believing this? And that feeling right there, it's another layer of humiliation. But here's the truth nobody says. You didn't miss it because you're stupid. You missed it because you were trying to make something work. You were trying to believe in something. You were giving someone the benefit of the doubt over and over again because your love is true and it mattered. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is you were giving it to the wrong person. And once that clicks, everything changes, because now you're not looking at isolated moments anymore. You're seeing the full picture. And when you see the full picture, you can't go back to pretending you don't. And you can't go back to believing the words. You can't go back to ignoring the feeling in your gut. The sick feeling. It's terrible. Because now you know. And knowing comes with responsibility, because now it's on you. Now it's not about what they're doing anymore. It's about what you're going to allow moving forward. Now you're not confused anymore. Or maybe you are confused, but you won't be. But at least you see it with clarity. You're starting to see it with clarity. You know, now you're aware, and your awareness, it changes everything, because once you see the pattern clearly, you stop reacting emotionally and you start thinking clearly. You stop asking, why are they doing this? And you start understanding, this is who they are. Not who they pretend to be, not who they say they are, but who they've consistently shown themselves to be. And that realization, it's painful. But it's also freeing, because now you're not chasing answers anymore. You're not trying to fix something that was never real. You're not holding on to words that was never backed by action. You're finally standing in reality. And reality doesn't lie. People do, but patterns don't. And once you see that, everything starts to shift. And then you go back, and in my situation, I'm thinking about certain things people have said. And now I have to go back, and I'm like, I was defending this, and I was just being naive because I love them. And it's sad. It's pathetic. It sounds pathetic, but it really isn't. I'm just human, man. And that's what the human heart does. When you have a pure heart and you're hoping somebody is sincere, you would have the faith that they would be telling you the truth. And why wouldn't you? Because they've showed you they loved you, or you thought they were. They put you in positions where you've never been in your life. But like I said, it's just something about humiliation. People who haven't felt it will never understand, because it's not just that someone hurt you. It's that they made you feel like you didn't matter while you were giving them everything, supporting them any way you can. It's standing there, believing in someone, defending someone, loving someone with every fiber of your body, while they're moving in a completely different way behind your back. And that's the worst part. They know you care. They know you're real. They know you're not playing games, and they still chose to do it anyway. And that's what makes it heavy, because now it's not just heartbreak. It's you sitting there questioning yourself. How did I let this happen? Why did I believe this? Why did I keep giving chances? And that feeling, that's the part that sticks. That's the part that keeps you up at night, all hours of the night. And that's the part that doesn't just go away. But let me say this, and as clear as I can. You didn't get humiliated because you're weak. You got humiliated because you were real in a situation that wasn't. You showed up with something genuine in a place that didn't deserve it. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to learn from, because the only mistake is staying in something that keeps making you feel like you're nothing, like trash. And there comes a point where you don't need another explanation. You don't need another apology. You don't need another promise. You need to just look at it for what it is and choose yourself, even if it hurts, even if it's hard, and even if a part of you really still cares, because your peace, your dignity, your self-respect is worth more than holding on to something that just keeps breaking you. And I had to really look at myself too, because I know who I am. I'm not someone who plays games. And when I say I care about you, I mean it. And when I say I'm there for you, I'm there. 100%. Not this 99.9% bullshit. I am 100% in. And I'm talking about real life, building something, showing up every day, being consistent, being loyal, actually living a life together, a real life. Dreams, a future, visions. And nothing is perfect. Not saying everything's a perfect little fairy tale book, but just being there. And that's all I ever wanted. And what I had to realize is not everybody wants that. Some people don't want peace. Some people don't want stability, because stability, it feels unfamiliar to them. So what do? They just go right back into the chaos. They go back into what they know. The arguing, the tension, the up and down, the falseness, the lying, the cheating, all this stuff, because that's what feels normal to them. And you sit there trying to give them something real, and they choose something that just keeps hurting them. And then you start thinking, how could they choose this over me? But the truth is, it's not that I wasn't enough. It's that they couldn't handle something real. And that's the hard truth to accept, because you realize you could have done everything right and the outcome would have still been the same. And some people, no matter who they're with, they're never at peace. They're always searching, always unsettled, always creating chaos, living in the chaos, thriving in the chaos. And in the end, even if they're with someone, they're still alone. And unfortunately, they're going to die alone. They're going to be in this for the rest of their life. It doesn't matter how many relationships they get in. If they're alone, they're going to die alone. And if they're with somebody, they're going to die alone, because they're never going to be content. And it's very sad. I had someone say to me they thought they were living in karma for what they've done in the past to people, and probably me, because they had a guilty conscience. But you know what? I looked at them and said, this is not karma. You think this is the karma? Karma is slow. No, this is not karma. The real karma is what I said, dying alone and living alone your entire life over time. It's a terrible thing to live with. But you know what? You reap what you sow. And some of you guys do like scriptures, so that being said, I'll give you a couple if you want to write them down and go look at them. Reap what you sow scriptures that are pertaining to that. So you got Galatians 6, verses 7 and 8. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 6. Galatians 6, 9. Proverbs 22, 8. Job 4, 8. Hosea 10, 12. So go check those out. And I want to bring a biblical perspective into this, because there's something important here. There's a difference between humiliation and humility. Humiliation is something done to you, and humility is something you choose. And the Bible talks about this clearly. It says the proud will be brought low, and those who humble themselves will be lifted. But it also makes something very clear. Humiliating others, that's not from God. That's pride. That's broken behavior. That's sin. God doesn't call you to be disrespected. He calls you to grow from what you go through. And sometimes what feels like humiliation in your life, God can turn into humility in your character. Something that strengthens you, builds you, makes you wiser. Even Jesus went through humiliation. He was mocked, rejected, betrayed. But that wasn't the end of his story. That was the part of the process. So if you're going through something like this right now, just know this. God can take what was meant to break you and use it to build you. What they meant for humiliation, God can turn into transformation. And I also put together a small little playlist for this episode from some songs that hit on this feeling and this experience. So if you need something just to sit with or get you through something, check out the link in the description for the little song playlist. But getting back to this, once you see all this clearly, that's when this stops being about them and it starts being about you. Reality doesn't lie. People do. And you know what? Some people are narcissists. There's so many forms of narcissism. I said I could do a 5-part series on narcissism. I really could. I did an interesting one I thought was really good, introducing what narcissism is. But when you're just the kind of person that I was just talking about that's going to live alone, probably for the rest of their life, I know who I am. I'm a romantic. And if you don't know what that is, look up the definition. I say what I mean what I say. I'm not playing games. I'm not taking advantage of anybody. I'm not just doing something to benefit me. When I do something, I'm benefiting us. U-S, us, plural. Not about me. And that's the problem. A lot of people, they're selfish, always the victim, and never taking responsibility. But this is where self-respect comes in. Because once you see the truth, and you see the pattern, and you realize what you are actually dealing with, you have a decision to make. You either keep going back to something that keeps breaking you, or you finally draw the freaking line. And that line, it's not about anger. It's not about getting even. It's not about revenge. At this point, you start to get the feeling like you could care less. And I hate to say that word because that's the total opposite, because you actually care too much. But what I'm saying is, when I say you start to care less, you start to see it clearly, and you start realizing a spade is a spade. A leopard does not lose its spots. People can change, but some people can't. And all that being said, it's about saying that I'm not available for this anymore. And not because you don't care, but because you finally care about yourself enough. Because self-respect, it's not loud, it's not revenge, it's not proving a point, it's very quiet. It's the moment you stop explaining yourself. It's the moment you stop chasing closure. It's the moment you stop believing words that aren't backed by actions. And you just step back and you let reality be what it is. No more forcing it. No more trying to fix it. No more hoping it turns into something it's never been. Because the truth is, when someone shows you over and over who they are, and it costs you your peace, your dignity, your sense of self, when you're feeling degraded beyond humiliation, that's your sign. And walking away, that's not weakness. It's actually strength. It's called self-respect. And not everyone's going to understand that. Some people will just stay in the chaos. Some people will just keep repeating the patterns and the same cycles over and over. Some people, as I said earlier, they will never find peace because they don't know how to live in it. So you know what that means? Actually, I'll tell you what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that you have to go with them. You can choose differently. You can choose peace. You can choose clarity. You can choose yourself. And once you do that, don't go back, because now you know. And when you know, you move differently and you say, I'm not available for this anymore. I'm going to say that a few times in this because that's what I've been practicing when I do my prayers. I go for my jogs and I go to the gym. I just say it over and over and over. I'm not available for this treatment anymore. You don't deserve to be treated like a damn fool, and you don't deserve to be humiliated. And you don't have to be available for that anymore. And that's the difference between being humiliated and finally choosing self-respect. And I want to say this too, because this is the part people don't talk about enough. When you go through something like this, it changes you. You're never going to be the same person. Not just how you look at them, but how you look at yourself. And you start thinking about every moment, every conversation, every time you didn't feel right, everything you ignored. And that's the real hard thing to sit with, because you realize that maybe your gut was trying to protect you the whole time and you didn't listen. And not because you're weak, but because you cared and because you believed in something that you wanted to be real. Because I really have strong faith, and the situation I'm talking about, my personal life, I don't know what your situation is, and I don't know how far you're into this, if you've been humiliated. or if this isn't just an interesting topic to listen to, my situation, what's sick is still in my gut. I still believe in the back of my head. For some reason, my faith put me where I am right at this moment, put me involved in this situation that I'm brushing on, and I believe it's still not over, which is crazy to me. But that's maybe the next thing I have to get over. I don't know. I still believe in divine intervention, and no matter how bad it looks, and no matter what happens, I guess it's in my soul, in my heart, in my mind, all lined up. It's going to work out. And this is what I believe. But you have to face reality. And you can't sit around and just take a lashing and a beating and be humiliated and be degraded and treated like garbage, like total garbage. You can't do that. You have to move on with your life. I was feeling guilty about so many things, and now that guilt is gone. I am not feeling guilty about living my life anymore. I am moving forward, and I'm moving forward fast, calmly, but fast. I am not sitting around and waiting to get my ass kicked or handed to me. Not happening anymore. But also, there's a point when you have to forgive yourself for staying too long. You have to forgive yourself for giving chances to somebody who wasn't ever going to change. And you have to forgive yourself for believing words over actions. Because if you don't, you carry that with you, and that will destroy your peace just as much as the situation did. So this isn't just about seeing them clearly. It's about seeing yourself clearly too, and making a decision that you're not bringing this version of yourself into the future. That version of you who tolerated it, that ignored signs, that just stayed there taking it, waiting for it to come back over and over, that version of you, it served a purpose. It taught you something. But it doesn't go with you anymore. It's staying in the back road. I'm sorry, get out of the car, stay right here, and see you later. Step on the fuel pedal. And don't look in the rearview mirror. Look in the windshield. So, at this point, I think I've said enough, because humiliation is pretty cut and dry. So I'm going to say a prayer right now, because I could use one, and if you're going through this, I'm sure you could use one. So you can say this to yourself and pray it with me. God, I come to you right now, just asking for clarity, because sometimes we see things, but we don't accept them. Give me strength to face truth even when it hurts. And please give me the wisdom to stop confusing words with actions and to trust what I'm being shown. Help me to forgive myself for the times that I stayed in these situations that were breaking me down. And help me to release the attachment to the people who don't value me the way I deserve to be valued. And most importantly, give me the strength to walk away from anything that cost me my peace, my dignity, and my self-respect, even when it's hard, even because I still care, and even when I don't fully understand why. Please just keep reminding me that choosing myself, it's not selfish, it's necessary. And guide me towards people, toward relationships that are built on truth, respect, and real love. Take this feeling off me. Take this confusion, this hurt, the weight that I'm carrying, and help me see things clearly, and give me strength to walk away from anything that cost me my peace, even if I still care. And even if I don't understand it, please help me choose myself without guilt. I'm very tired. I don't have it all together right now. I'm hurt, confused, beyond drained. But I know that you're a God of greatness, and I know you're not a God of confusion. So give me clarity. Help me to see what's real, not what I want to be real. Give me the strength to accept what you're showing me, even if it's not what I hope for. And please protect my heart from anything that keeps breaking it. Amen. And I want to leave you with this. If they lie to you, if they say things to you like I'll never do that again, or this is what I'm going to do, I would never hurt you again, not this time, and then they do it again, please try not to go back on your word, because that says more than anything they ever told you. That shows you who they really are. And there's that quote, and this is what it comes down to. You don't believe what people say, you believe what they repeatedly do. And when people have told you things about someone and you just ignored it because you were naive because you loved them. I'm talking about family, their friends, their supposed best friends, even your mutual friends. And you just sit there and say, no, no, no. Stop saying no, because it's probably exactly who they are. And when all their actions stop proving that everything you were told is true, you have to look at everything. You have to look at all the circumstances, all the humiliation, all the degrading, and all the terrible things that you've been through and that they've put you through, and add it all up and come to terms with it. Because someone who can humiliate you like that, that's one of the lowest forms of hurt you can do to someone. The lowest. I'm sorry. And let me tell you something. You don't see it at first, because what they do, they always make themselves the victim. And you always defend them. And you always make excuses for them. But when you step back and you put it all together and you start to see it for what it really is, and I've talked about narcissism many times, this is a form of it. And it may not look like a typical version, but when someone can do these things to you like this, with no conscience, and they continue to do it, and they just humiliate you, and then they just ghost you, that's someone who only cares about themselves. They'll pretend they care about everyone else. And they say that. They'll say, oh, my problem is I care about everyone else. No, it's reversal. It's psychological. It's manipulation. And honestly, it's pretty pathetic. And again, they'll say things like, I did this because of this. This is where God wants me to be. Maybe it's karma. Maybe it's this or that. It's just another way to justify what they're doing. It's another way to humiliate you. And let me tell you something about that. Karma doesn't work the way that they think it does. It doesn't come immediately. It comes slowly, it builds, and it lives with them forever. And that's a problem that they have to live with. It comes back multiplied. And as I said, they're going to live lonely for the rest of their life, whether with somebody or not. Deep down in that soul of theirs, they're lonely, and they're going to be alone for the rest of their life. They'll never be happy. And watch out for this major red flag. When people start using words like hook up, pay attention. Because a lot of times when people use words like that, and people who live like that, they'll tolerate each other, but they'll also destroy everyone in their path. And in the end, they usually end up getting exactly what they chose, which is chaos, dishonesty, no real stability. And that's the life that they're going to continue to live. Meanwhile, people like you, people who are real, people who actually really care, who are loyal, who go through this humiliation, who go through the pain, you grow from it, you learn from it, and eventually you benefit from the experience because you become stronger, wiser, and more aware. And just think about the next person who's going to get the person you are now. They're going to be so appreciative of you, unlike the person who's humiliating you. And people like that, they just don't know how to love. And they may never learn. And unfortunately, we cross paths with people like this. But it doesn't mean we stay there. Man, so if this is you, just start to think what people have been saying to you when they say you don't deserve to be treated this way. But if you've been humiliated and treated like terribly and lied to and all the stuff we talked about, just believe in yourself and believe you just don't deserve it. As much as you want to do the right thing might be just taking care of yourself and really analyzing everything. Because all this that we talked about, you felt it, you didn't want to accept it. And that's when it changes. Now it's on you. So stop listening to what they say and stop watching what they do. If you're taking anything from this, take this. Pay attention to patterns, not words, not promises, not what you hope something is going to be, but what it consistently shows you. Because the truth is always there. We just don't always want to see it. And once you do see it, don't ignore it. Don't go backwards. And try not to convince yourself that it's going to change when it hasn't. Choose yourself. Choose peace. Choose self-respect. Because at the end of the day, that's what you have to live with. Not them. You. And I had someone say to me, "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to cause you stress and put you in a depression." And I just laugh and I say, what? I would pray to be in a depression or pray to be stressed out right now. It's way beyond that. And I guess people just don't understand. But anyway, if you're listening to this right now and you feel like I feel or I felt, hurt, confused, humiliated, and that level I was just talking about, like you gave everything to someone who didn't give it back. What you got back was unfair. And you know what? Go read those scriptures that I quoted, because reaping what you sow works both ways. If you're a good person, you're going to reap benefits unimaginable. And if you're a bad person, they will reap those karma realities that we talked about. But it's all in time. And I want you to hear this. This is not where your story ends. It might feel like it. It might feel like you're stuck in something that you can't get out of, but you're not. There is still hope. This can be positive. Whether that person comes back or whether God brings you someone new into your life, there is still something ahead of you. Something real, something healthy, and something that doesn't make you question your worth or feel worthless. And if you take anything from this, take this. Remind yourself, I'm a good person and I deserve to be treated better. Say that to yourself over and over until it sticks in your head. I am a good person and I deserve to be treated better. I am a good person and I deserve to be treated better. Because when you've been in something like this, you start to forget that and you start to question yourself. But don't. Better things can come from this. You can rebuild from this. You can come back stronger from this. And one day, this won't hurt the way it does right now. You'll understand it differently. You'll see it differently. And you'll be standing in something better. And if it is with them, the person that did this to you, it could be a bump in the road. And things could be amazingly better than you both could ever imagine in the future. Because you're both going to appreciate each other more. And you both learned and you grew from it. And as I said, things can be unimaginably amazing. I've read hundreds of stories on reconciliation. That being said, you could end up with someone new, like an upgrade, and that person is going to get this version of you, and you're going to live an amazing life with or without them. So that's how you have to think about this. It doesn't seem real right now, but it actually is more real than you think. And not because it's easy, and not because it was easy, but because you didn't stay where you were being broken. So don't give up on yourself. And don't lose your faith, and don't believe for 1 second that this is all there is for you, because it's not. And here's what you do after all this. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't try to prove anything. You put your head down, you move forward quietly, you focus on yourself, you rebuild your peace, your confidence, your life, and one day, as much as you think it's not going to because you're probably hurting, you won't even think about it anymore, because you didn't stay where you were disrespected. You grew out of it, and you become someone that situation can never reach again. And I found this quote from this guy that I've been following on a podcaster. He says this: you go glow up. So this is Glen Nunes from Cracked Open. I want to thank you guys for listening. If this meant something to you, share it with somebody who might need it. And always remember, your integrity is your legacy. Love your neighbor as yourself. And God has no favorites, and karma has no favorites. I will see you next time on Cracked Open. I have a few episodes coming up that are going to be great with some guests and some audio ones like this. And I appreciate you all. I love you. And I can't thank you more for subscribing and hitting that like button and the comments. All the comments have been great. I get tons of them in my inbox. I wish the comments and the text would go on the actual podcast, because it would help other people and start dialogue. But that being said, I still appreciate all the comments, the shares, and the subscriptions to my podcast. This is Glen Nunes on Cracked Open. You have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Cracked Open. If today's episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need a little light in their own dark season. Remember, even in brokenness, there's beauty waiting to be found. Every crack is a place where the light can shine through. Until next time, stay true, stay hopeful, and keep your heart open.